Hello, Lot here. Just wanting you all to know that this episode has been previously recorded and posted. So I hope you enjoy it or re-enjoy it.
Welcome to Close the Door and Come Here, a Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire podcast with heavy leanings towards our two favorite characters, Jaime and Brienne. Hey everyone, I'm Guile. I tweet at Door Podcast, and tonight I'm joined by Kama.
Hi, this is Kama, and I'm at the-real-Kama Splice on Tumblr.
Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea, and you can find me at AndreaLee17 on Twitter.
And I'm excited to announce the return of our favorite spicy Texan, Eon.
Hey, this is Eon. I'm Eon Blue Negative on Tumblr. And I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Welcome back. You've been missed.
I will admit I'm a little nervous. I feel like I'm a little podcast virgin again.
Cotton on George for the very first time.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Don't do that.
Never again. So tonight we're continuing our read of Asha's point of view chapters with her first chapter in A Dance with Dragons, The Wayward Bride. And I want to give our standard spoiler warnings as well as a trigger warning for rape discussion in this particular chapter. So we open up with Asha holed up in Deepwood Motte, and she gets a letter from Ramsay Bolton that's written in the blood of the Iron Men who were holding Moat Cailin. And enclosed in the letter is a piece of her brother Theon's skin. And I just, no one can say Ramsay hasn't learned a little drama from his undead vampire father, can they?
So unlike the show, she didn't get a dick in a box this time. It's just a piece of skin.
Not receive a dick in a box. Unless it was dick skin. I guess they didn't really specify the skin. I feel like it was a finger for some reason, but
I was hoping it was a piece of finger skin, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
They were so gross that we're even really.
I mean, upgrade, downgrade, I can't tell.
What kind of skin in particular? This would be like George's dream. What? They want to know, what kind of skin? Oh my gosh.
No, George, we don't want any details you have to offer us in this chapter.
So the staff, which seems to all be holdovers from the Glovers, they want to share the news with Lady Sybil, and we find out that Asha left Sybil Glover's two children on 10 Towers with her two aunts, and that Sybil has spent all of her time back at Deepwood Motte in the Godswood praying for them and for her husband Robert. I always think of him as Robert, but that feels very French to me. Robert Glouver and his brother Galbert.
Oh, God.
Asha assumes that they're both dead, but actually we know that Galbert went with Marge Mormont and Jason Mallister to the Reeds with Rob's will, and they're missing since then. And Robert is at White Harbor.
God, stop it with the French.
I can't sing Madonna. I can't speak French. This is just awful. So, she's doing all this praying, and Asha thinks it's kind of pointless, but it turns out that actually, everyone in Sybil's world is doing pretty well, comparatively speaking. Asha and her men assume that Ramsay and his Northmen are going to head to Torrens Square, and they debate whether they should go and join Dagmar Cleftjaw's inevitable battle against them. Basically, they kind of realize they're screwed, and they want to die fighting rather than waiting around to die. We find out, Euron doesn't care about what's going on. He was crowned at the King's Moot, and then he sailed out in the Sunset Sea, kind of doing his freaky shit. And there's really, no one back on Pike to call for help, even if they could. So things are not looking good in Asha's world. And, as anyone would do, she gets drunk. And she goes to bed, and Qarl the maid follows her. And she tells him she wants to be alone, and he tells her that what she wants is him. And he pulls a knife on her and unlaces her jerkin with it and pushes her onto the bed. And, here it becomes quite obvious that Asha is really into it. This is always, people talk about this as one of George's better sex scenes. What did you guys think?
It's better, and yet it's sort of offensive.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards offensive.
I mean, I think if we'd had more indication that, and I don't know how you do this, but that this was like sort of like their kind of thing.
Their role playing. Right. Yeah, and I was thinking
because
about
it really reads very rapey.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden she's wet from it, and it's like, I kind of wonder, does he know how this works? Because it really, it doesn't read hot to me. I
think the issue is that he doesn't allow her to actually think about what is happening to her.
Yeah.
So like she's not thinking like, oh my God, I'm afraid. What is he doing? Why is he doing this to me? But she's also not thinking
this is something
like,
that they normally.
Right.
Like, even if we got a sense of this is like their normal, like, kind of play, I'd be down with that. That's fine.
I think he just doesn't have any idea what women think about during sex.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't think that she'd be thinking about, like, what he's doing and, like, how it's making her feel. And how it's making her feel is, like, very crucial here because it's, he means it to have it making her feel like basically she has the weight of the world on her shoulders. And I think what he wants is kind of for her to feel like that's being taken away for a moment.
And she kind of can relax.
She can relax. She, like this is their thing. Like, she's the boss outside of the bedroom and he's the boss in the bedroom, and that's kind of like their jam.
But I think because he doesn't give us that internal monologue, it's just like, what the hell are you doing?
Right. And I mean, he relies on she's wet. Oh, okay, everything's fine then. Like, it's not really how it works.
It's not how it works.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, I mean, but then it's kind of funny because afterwards Asha's thinking that she needs to brew some moon tea, but that it really doesn't matter because she's going to die anyway. And she reminisces about her relationship with Qarl. And I wanted to read a few of these paragraphs because it's like he can't really talk about the feelings during sex, but these few paragraphs like describe everything he wanted to say in the sex, I think. So it says, Asha pressed herself against his back and slid her arms about him. On the Isles he was known as Qarl the Maid, in part to distinguish him from Qarl Shepherd, Queer Qarl Kenning, Qarl Quickaxe, and Qarl the Thrall, but more for his smooth cheeks. When Asha had first met him, Qarl had been trying to raise a beard. Peach fuzz, she had called it, laughing. Qarl confessed that he had never seen a peach, so she told him he must join her on her next voyage south. It had been summer then. Robert sat on the Iron Throne, Balin brooded on the sea stone chair, and the Seven Kingdoms were at peace. Asha sailed the black wind down the coast, trading. They called at Fair Isle and Lannisport and a score of smaller ports before reaching the arbor, where the peaches were always huge and sweet. You see, she'd said the first time she'd held one up against Qarl's cheeks. When she made him try a bite, the juice ran down his chin and she had to kiss it clean. That night they'd spent devouring peaches and each other, and by the time daylight returned, Asha was sated and sticky and as happy as she'd ever been. Was that 6 years ago or 7? Summer was a fading memory, and it had been 3 years since Asha last enjoyed a peach. She still enjoyed Qarl, though. The captains and the kings might not have wanted her, but he did. Asha had known other lovers. Some shared her bed for half a year, some for half a night. Qarl pleased her more than all the rest together. He might shave but once a fortnight, but a shaggy beard does not make a man. She liked the feel of his smooth, soft skin beneath her fingers. She liked the way his long, straight hair brushed against his shoulders. She liked the way he kissed. She liked how he grinned when she brushed her thumbs across his nipples. The hair between his legs was a darker shade of sand than the hair on his head, but fine as down compared to the coarse black bush around her own sex. She liked that, too. He had a swimmer's body, long and lean, with not a scar upon him. A shy smile, strong arms, clever fingers, and 2 sure swords. What more could any woman want? She would have married Qarl, and gladly, but she was Lord Balin's daughter, and he was common-born, the grandson of a thrall. Too low-born for me to wed, but not too low for me to suck his cock. He almost had it, like, right up to, like, the last line. You're like, oh! But just, that, this description of who she is compared to her, her father brooding on Pike, and she's trading. She's not off. And I mean, I know I'm going to totally tend to like only see the best in Asha and all of her POVs. Like I can already feel myself doing that. But she's not reaving. She's trading. She's kind of having she's having a good time. She's enjoying, she's enjoying life. She's not, like, enthralled to the past.
Right.
So now I'm shipping them hardcore. One thing I thought was interesting in here is she says, the captains and the kings might not have wanted her, but he did. And that kind of made me think, like, had Balon been, like, unsuccessfully trying to match her with someone? And, who?
If so, who? Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I could think of was the really, Willis Tyrell. Which
I can't imagine that ever. Yeah.
Seemed to be quite a mismatch, but, in terms of, like, the big names, she's too old for Robb. Tyrion would frankly make a lot of sense, but I don't think... Oh,
God, I want that
the Iron Men wouldn't be... I can't imagine the Ironborn would be... Why not call them the Iron Men? The Ironborn. I don't feel like they'd be into Tyrion. And I don't know if, the Lannisters would consider even the Greyjoys as, too far below them.
Well, it's not until Tywin is looking to shore stuff up that he even... Because remember, one of Cersei's possible choices...
Is Theon.
No,
it's Balon, isn't it?
It's Balon, even though Olenna, is still alive, but she's sick and like to die, to misquote Shakespeare or whatever. So, I mean... At that point, I think Tywin is willing to do it, but I can't imagine him being willing to wed one of his kids. Well, maybe Tyrion. I don't know.
And, Davin, frankly, would, again, like...
That'd be a good one.
It wouldn't have been it would have been you would think, like, if you're Lannisport and you're kind of, you're always sort of worried. Or even, like, the Redwynes, if they... One of the Redwyne kids... Those two, Rober and those two dolts that, one of those two, like, I don't know their ages offhand, but, like, Davin Lannister would seem to be a decent match just in terms of, like, security for Lannisport, if nothing else. Yeah. And, knowing him, like, their personalities actually would have worked pretty well together. But, I feel like even, like, the lesser Lannisters would, like, frown upon a Greyjoy marriage.
I'm trying to... Seems like... Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Go ahead. No. I'm trying to think... Sorry.
You go.
I'm trying to think of who of the Ironborn are married to, mainland Westerosi. Like, I'm just not thinking off the top of my head anyone comes to mind. Like, Balon's wife is a Harlaw, so that's Ironborn. So, like, can you guys think of anybody?
No.
Well, remember, that's a new trend comparatively. That started with the War of the, what were they called?
The Southern
Ninepenny Kings or whatever. Yeah. That was that's a comparatively new thing that, in fact, I think some of the characters talk about that, like that wasn't something that they used to do.
You mean marry outside of their region?
Yeah, it's like the Saffron ambitions or whatever, that those kind of...
Right, the Lannisters married Marbrands and Leffords.
You married your Bannermen.
Okay, Webbers.
Ian, what were you going to say?
It was along the same lines as Drea. I mean, I think the Greyjoys are kind of a hard sell for the mainlanders. I mean, they're kind of the trailer trash of Westeros.
And I feel like the Targaryens are so the trailer trash of Westeros. They're like, come on. Well, they are,
but they're like the Kardashians of Westeros. They're there.
The Ironborn are like the Honey Boo Boo of Westeros.
That is so great.
Yikes.
They're just... And it's, I feel like Asha would not make someone necessarily a good wife, but...
no.
But, it's hard not to like her, and it's hard not to like her.
That's kind of what I like about her, yeah.
Well, yeah, she's...
Again, like, she feels like a real, she feels like a pretty real person.
Although, can I just, before we move on, I just want to say, I don't know if George has ever tried to burn fabric, but it's not a real good thing to throw in the fire.
I thought she was she was burning the skin.
She did that. That makes total sense.
Didn't she burn her jerkin
and then she burns, after he rips her clothes in true bodice ripper fashion, she throws that on the fire. And I'm like, if that's leather, that's definitely not going to burn. And if it's cloth, I mean, it's just not something.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's cloth because she wouldn't be wearing leather. Well, I guess she wasn't
but
like
you
completely
still,
undressed. Yeah,
it's not exactly like the smoke point. It's going to be, you're going to have a messy. It's not going to be great.
But they're all going to die, and they're like, it's not their house.
Well, yeah, but I mean, while you're sitting there, you're going to be miserable because it's sort of like trying to burn plastic. I think it's not going to be a
good time.
Yeah.
I'm also going to say that Qarl the Maid sounds really hot because I mean, if you read some of the descriptions of the other Ironborn, Qarl the Maid sounds like he's Eric Northman from True Blood to me. He's Alexander Skarsgård. I mean, he sounds like he's hot.
Well, and I do kind of like that, in their discussions, that we see them have a few times in this chapter. Like, he never acts like he's above anyone else or above Asha because he's sleeping with her. Like, he defers to her. He always defers to her. But then, I mean, as awkward as the scene is, like, I kind of get what George is doing, and I like that he's like, I'm gonna, man it up in the bedroom, and she,
I wish he had filled in the blanks, though.
Yeah, like he needed to, like, put him. It's so funny, like, he can put himself in the mind of all of these, like, crazy people, and, like, in the minds of, like, children, but, like, the mind of a woman having sex, like, good luck.
Right.
Like, you have no
I think
clue.
that's the problem. Is it reads kind of weird, and I mean, all he had to do was, like, I think it would have been if we'd just gotten her perspective.
Yeah.
Or some
instead of her
indication
describing
that
it,
this
like,
was
her
their
feeling
thing.
it.
This is what they did. I think it would have been fine.
Yeah.
It's just like, it reads abruptly because I'm like, oh my God, she's being raped. Because I'd forgotten all of this.
Yeah.
And then, no, this is a thing they do, which is fine. I get that. I just needed some.
She needed to be feeling something about it other than, like, oh, I'm wet. Surprise. Like, that's.
Well, because it was all very descriptive.
It's not like it's usually a
physical,
surprise.
What was going on, but it wasn't like her emotions. And that, I think, is where it really falls down.
Yeah,
give us the peach passage first, and then do the, rapey sex.
Right, like, because, I mean, there is, like, you can't read that passage, and it's like, she loves him. Like, she really loves him, and, it's kind of, like, heartbreaking that she feels like she can't marry him, So, anyway, so as comfortable as she is with Qarl, Asha's really uncomfortable in the woods, and there's a lot in this chapter about that, and she thinks the air smelled of pines instead of salt. And she knows that Stannis Baratheon is also somewhere in those woods, and she wonders if she should ally with him against their common enemy. But, there's really a lot of history between the Baratheons and the Greyjoys, and it just doesn't even really seem like it's something that she really considers. And she's, thinking about Deepwood Motte, as not really a strong castle, and even if it were, the crops were killed in her original attack, and there's been a couple of hard frosts since then, so nothing that they've planted is taken. So they're really in no position to withstand an attack or a siege, even if it was a stronger castle, they don't have enough food to withstand a siege. And she's thinking, she doesn't really intend to be taken alive by the likes of Ramsay Snow / Bolton. She's going to die here. And she thinks back to the King's Moot and thinks about how she fled at the reader's strong urging right after the King's Moot, assuming that Euron would either kill her or wed her to someone awful, and frankly, that's what happened. She's been married by proxy to the ancient Eric Ironmaker. I want to call him the Anvil Maker, but I think he's Eric Ironmaker. And there's a fairly short passage that I wanted to read. I cannot go home, she thought, but I dare not stay here much longer. The quiet of the woods unnerved her. Asha had spent her life on islands and on ships. The sea was never silent. The sound of the waves washing against a rocky shore was in her blood, but there were no waves at Deepwood Motte, only the trees, the endless trees, soldier pines and sentinels, beech and ash and ancient oaks, chestnut trees and ironwoods and firs. The sound they made was softer than the sea, and she heard it only when the wind was blowing. Then the sighing seemed to come from all around her, as if the trees were whispering to one another in some language that she could not understand. Tonight the whispering seemed louder than before. A rush of dead brown leaves, Asha told herself, bare branches creaking in the wind. She turned away from the window, away from the woods. I need a duck beneath my feet again, or failing that, some food in my belly. She'd had too much wine tonight, but too little bread, and none of that great bloody roast. One thing, I mean, I love like all of the, the imagery and just how out of place she is, but it also, there's such love of the elements that she knows though too, and it was making me think about how many of George's POVs are characters out of place. We have Jon beyond the wall, we have Sansa in King's Landing and the Vale, Arya in Braavos, and Dany in Essos, and there's it's really hard to think of any character that is, maybe like Victorian. We kind of see him like in his element a little bit, but we don't. In some of Tyrion's chapters,
fucking
we see,
scary element, but yeah,
and maybe like some of Tyrion's class chapters in King's Landing, we see him like totally comfortable in his element, but most of the book and most of the characters are really like out of place. And I don't know about you guys, but it kind of made me wish that we saw like a Stark, in the north, in the woods, just to see what that's like. Like I really wanted,
their POV, yeah.
Yeah, and I really, kind of wished we saw Asha, like an Asha POV at sea now, because I really, she's very confident, but not in a delusional way. But I want to see her. I want to see more of that.
Yeah. She's confident, but she's also resigned. She really says over and over again, I'm going to die. It's what's going to happen. I'm going to die. She's resigned to it. Yeah. I just kind of wish she had gotten in her ship and just gone trading and go sail to Asha. Don't end it here. It doesn't make sense that, such a cool character gets to bite it. Not that she bites it here, but like, she gets taken and spoiler alert, but like, seems like an unfair end for her.
I mean, you kind of hope that somehow she gets on the sea and, at least goes down and, fighting the good fight against her asshole uncles or something, like you kind of, So anyway, she's, she gets out of bed and she's walking around the grounds and she runs into our old friend Tris Botley, who, to his credit, has stayed loyal to her. And, he still claims to want her, and Asha still wants nothing to do with them that way. And, she urges him to hook up with Hagen's ginger daughter. And, we'll later see she's clearly far too much woman for Tris. Just saying, like, she's pretty awesome. And, to Drea's point, Tris tells Asha that they ought to run away and make new lives as traders on the sea. And, he's not wrong. And Asha kind of realizes it's not a terrible idea either. And she runs through her other options. She even thinks about going to her husband. And, she's like, maybe he'll die.
Fucking him to death?
Yeah, like, maybe he'll die when we have sex. Like, some reasonable kind of things. Like, I feel like I could think of some woman in our modern day world that might be, maybe we're having
about that too.
The same sort of thing. I don't know.
I'm sure she's, well...
And she kind of settles on going to Sea Dragon Point until the time is right to return to Pike someday to dispute the King's Moot. And Tris kind of passes on a little Ironborn history about the one time that a King's Moot was overturned, which is when one of the claimants wasn't informed of the King's Moot. And, Asha has this quick little aha moment that, hey, Theon is alive, so the King's Moot is invalid. And just as she kisses Tris, but just, almost immediately as this is happening, they're interrupted by a war horn, and they're under attack. Actually, I'm going to back up to see if anyone, what do you think about that King's Moot and the possibility of that being overturned?
I'm not sure if Theon is in a place at this point, or ever will be, to contest that.
I don't think she's thinking of. I mean, I think what she's thinking, I'm assuming, is that, oh, hey, this is a way to get back. I mean, she doesn't want Theon to be in power. She wants to be in power, right?
Well, I think
but wouldn't he have to contest it because he wasn't there?
Well, I think it would be like he'd be a figurehead kind of thing. Like, they would tell him what to, or she'd tell him what to do. And then, assuming she has no idea of knowing, other than, his skin is being flayed off. She doesn't exactly know, what kind of state he's in or if he could do that. But I think that's her plan. I don't think she actually...
It's like the genesis of a plan, because she later kind of thinks about, going to they could get to Winterfell, and she's, I think she's grasping at anything to do. So, as I said, she kisses Triss, and they're interrupted by a war horn, and they realize they're under attack, but it's just 5 Flint guys dressed up like trees, and they claim that they were just trying to rescue Sibel Glover. And then there's some, light torture, and the last unfortunate man confesses that they're actually sent to open the gates for the thousands of men behind him. And Asha gathers everyone in the castle and the bailey, and Sibel Glover tells her that, they'll exchange her for her 2 children. And Asha believes her, but she knows that most of the rest of her men won't get such generous terms. And she gives, her men the choice, surrender or fight. And these are Ironborn, so I'm going to give you all one guess what they want to do.
They want to discuss.
So they want to fight, but it's pretty clear they're going to lose. And they start talking, and this just kind of cracked me up. They start talking about how they're going to die with dry feet, and then they sort of start that really dark as fuck debate about, well, do the little streams in the forest count as the sea? They're trying to die with die on the water on a technicality.
Rationalize it.
Yeah, which is exactly what people would do, and I still find kind of hilarious. And, given this talk, Ash is like, fuck this, I'm not dying yet. So she commands her men to make for the sea. And they ride out in the dark through the thick woods, and it's kind of disaster. There's horses breaking legs, and it's just, they can't light torches, and it's just, they're not familiar with the woods. So they're not doing well. And they rest to eat, and then some of them go off to screw. They're suddenly under attack. And there's a great passage that describes the battle far better than I ever could. Asha thinks, no singer would ever make a song about that battle. No master would ever write down an account for one of the reader's beloved books. No banners flew, no warheads moaned. No great lord called his men about him to hear his final ringing words. They fought in the pre-dawn gloom, shadow against shadow, stumbling over roots and rocks with mud and rotting leaves beneath their feet. The Ironborn were clad in mail and salt-stained leather, the Northmen in furs and hides and piney branches. The moon and stars looked down upon their struggle. Their pale light filtered through the tangle of bare limbs that twisted overhead. And I just, I love that.
Yeah, it's peak George writing.
And, that's the thing, this is the first A Dance with Dragons chapter that we've been in, other than, just the couple of Cersei and, I think maybe there was a Jon, but Cersei and the one Jaime. But, I personally kind of feel like George's actual writing is phenomenal. It's just, he doesn't necessarily write about things that move the story forward all the time.
Right.
So they're fighting in the woods, and the Ironborn are fighting hard, and, they're killing their fair share. And there's this time that it's Asha and Qarl fighting back to back, and I totally feel like this is Jaime and Brienne in the future, right? That's going to be them. And it sounds like the Ironborn are better fighters, but they're basically being overwhelmed by their foes.
Their numbers are not in their favor.
Right.
And then we get this great little passage about Hagen's daughter, which I love. So, Hagen's daughter burst naked from beneath the trees with 2 wolves at her heels. Asha wrenched loose a throwing axe and sent it flying end over end to take one of them in the back. When he fell, Hagen's daughter stumbled to her knees, snatched up his sword, stabbed the second man, then rose again, smeared with blood and mud, her long hair unbound, and plunged into the fight.
That's bad.
There's no way that Christopher Botley, or whatever his name is, could handle that.
No.
You're right. Absolutely
who
not.
could handle that? There's a very select men who might number 0 that could handle that.
I have a feeling this is the type of character that, Book Tormund, maybe. or like one of the free folk could handle. You know, would respect that and would, you know.
Yeah. Who wouldn't respect that? Like
no, but I mean, like that might be able to, you know, yeah.
Like, damn, Hagen's daughter.
It's a limited number. I really don't. Yeah.
I feel like Jaime would be very impressed.
Yeah, but Jaime, there's no way in hell. Jaime couldn't handle Asha, much less Hagen's daughter. Like,
true. Yeah, it's true.
They're way too much for him.
Oh, man.
So Asha gets into a fight with the big, bald Northman with an axe. And you can kind of just feel she's just exhausted, and the Northman forces her against a tree and lifts his axe and smashes it against her temple. And as she falls, she hears trumpet sound and dreams of red hearts burning and a black stag in a golden wood with flames streaming from his antlers. So we know it's dun dun dun, Stannis Baratheon to the slaughter. And that's how our chapter ends.
Good times.
It's kind of funny because, reading it through the first time, you don't. Well, I guess the flints kind of give it away. That we know it's probably Stannis at that point. But, you're rooting for Asha, and then, Stannis. Well, I'm also kind of rooting for Stannis. So it's one of those fights where, there's really not a side to be against. Because I think, like, beyond Asha and Qarl, I mean, I don't really particularly want anything terrible to happen to Tris Botley either. Like, he's lame, but, he's, like, he's loyal, except now, don't you, I mean, I know we're going into her future chapters a bit, but, back off Justin Massey, just saying. Like, she's not yours.
She's really doomed with these guys who have, no. I was just thinking about Justin Massey. I mean, there's a couple of these guys who are just really not, I mean, you got to admire them for admiring her, but at the same time, it's like, she's so out of their league.
Oh, yeah. Like, like Stannis himself, maybe Mance Rayder, but I feel like he's a little too soft for her. Although, actually, Mance and Asha might get along pretty well. Like, they both, know how to live. And, I mean, that's probably about it that we know, dudes that we know in the North. Any other thoughts on the chapter?
It was interesting, and I don't know why I missed it, but when she gets that letter, it's signed by, who is it? It's signed by Roose Bolton, Barbara Dunstan, and then there's this lady, and I have no idea how you're supposed to pronounce that. They said it in the show, and it was like Cowan or whatever.
Cerwin?
But
is it CERWN?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I'm not sure if that's not how you pronounce it, but anyhow, it's that's not. It's the lady. It's his daughter. She's the father dies at Harrenhal. So now, and we don't know much about her, do we?
So I'm looking. It's Janelle.
Yeah.
And she is. I feel like is she kind of the one? Yeah, she is. So I remembered her from Kat's chapters, and she's the one that he brings her to Winterfell to cook for him, or to cook for them, and she's kind of
and they're like thinking that
maybe like she'd hook up with Robb, but I think she's like a little bit older, like she might be in her 20s, and just seemed kind of not homely, but just a little quiet. Oh, it says she's plump and homely, per the wiki. Theon Greyjoy believes that Robb will one night find her in his bed.
Well, and I honestly don't think Theon's wrong there. I think that's the whole point of, the father wants her to, they're all after Robb.
So they say she was born in 267, which would make her, like Jaime's age. So she's
way too old for Robb.
Yeah, so she's quite a bit older.
But I don't know. I always find it interesting when they're women who are in charge, because you don't always see that in the show, in the the books.
Or the show, right.
Or the show, actually. More in the show.
Yeah, so she is, she's a year younger than Jaime. So she's, 33, I guess, or 34 if it's, if we figure it's 301. So, yeah, she's quite a bit too old for Jon. Probably should count herself lucky that, Ramsay or Roose didn't, try and take her for a wife, I guess. Although I guess Roose would have been the more...
it's scary when
likely.
He's the better choice.
Yeah, clearly he is the better choice. Like, he hasn't actually killed any of his wives.
Right, no.
So, he's got that going for him.
So there's a theory that Asha could be pregnant just from this chapter, because she never got around to having that moon tea. Do you think she might be?
I would think it'd be interesting if she was, just to see her as a character being pregnant and being kind of unapologetically pregnant with, the child of the, man she loves. Like, there's something kind of appealing about that, but then I think too, they're basically starving, and, realistically that's, not that great for the unborn child.
Well, and George has an unfortunate track record with pregnant women in his series.
Right.
They all die, regardless of the likelihood of that. So, I don't know.
Leave Asha alone. But, especially if something, if Qarl dies or something, it's like, I wouldn't mind her having a little peachy reminder of her lover.
I love her as a character. There's a chapter, I don't know if I'm on it, but she talks about, I find her interesting. She's not just about the physical. She's not, she's fairly clever. She's got ambition. She's always appealed to me, and she's one of the few Greyjoys I've actually ever really given a shit about. Other than Theon, I think they're all pretty much crazy-ass fuckers, and if they all died, I really wouldn't care. But I care about her. I find her interesting.
Well, and I've always kind of classified her as those characters that have the capability to move from the world they're in to a different world. Like, let's say that she survives to the end and, Westeros evolves to some, early stage, not total democracy, but some other system of government that
she could function in another
she'd be fine.
System.
And she'd be, she'd be a leader in it. She wouldn't be fighting against it necessarily. She'd be like, okay, here's the new parameter. I can work within that. I can succeed within that. She's thinking that.
I think it's because she would see. She's a character who could see the utility of that.
Yeah, and and not
of the opportunities.
Not in a purely pragmatic way either. That's not the right word. No,
I think it is kind of similar. She could see the advantages.
Yeah, I feel like she and Jaime have that in common. They're the characters that are in, leadership positions, but they're not in, they're not rigid. Those positions aren't so rigidly defined as they are for someone, frankly, more like Stannis or Daenerys, for example, that are very much tied to a system that has them on the top alone. And, that's very important for them that they have that acknowledgement of, they have that acknowledgement within the existing system. And, the system breaks. Are they going to be able to work with it, or are they going to be fighting for the old times, basically?
I think that someone like Cersei would not survive in a stripped-down Westeros where you don't have the courtly intrigue, you don't have the scheming, you don't have the manipulation. She's not a leader in the traditional sense, whereas Asha can be, and is not all about, who can I scheme with and ally with. And I think she would just be a natural leader and would function well because she's a well-developed female character that's not like Arianne or Cersei, where there's some ulterior motive to what she's doing. She's doing what she needs to do.
Yeah, and she is, you can kind of see, she is a natural-born leader. Yes, she's a Greyjoy, and that's her, she's a Greyjoy, and she has some personal loyalty, but in the way, she discusses things, she discusses things with her enemy, or with her captives, rather, discusses things with her men, gives them choices, but then is also able to, like, make definitive decisions.
Right.
Like, right. She's really doing a good job here, frankly, in a really shitty situation.
Well, I think her advantage is she functions well in her existing system. I mean, she works. She knows how it works for her. She can function in that, but I think there's enough flexibility, if I get what you're saying, to be able to function in some sort of alternative situation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like Jon is another one that has clearly, proven that he can do that. He can, well, I guess not since they did kill him, but like...
Oh, there was that, right?
Well, I guess that was sort of an issue. But, he was killed for his flexibility, not his inflexibility, I guess, is more of the point. But, yeah, there's, she's one of the characters that I feel like her best chance for survival is the fact that she's clearly positioned as one of the characters that could take Westeros into a different future.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
So, yeah. I hope she makes it.
Yeah, I hope so, exactly.
God damn it, there's like getting to be fewer and fewer characters that I would be like, yeah, I don't care. now I'm kind of like, hey, Janelle Serwin, like I want you to make it too, like, cook some food. You do you, like, find some hot wildling dude that'll appreciate you. Just saying. Anyway. What the hell? And Hagen's daughter, like, now I'm going to be devastated if I read the next two Asha chapters and realize that Hagen's daughter's dead, which I figure she probably will be because she's too awesome to live.
Right.
So I feel like that's going to really make me sad. So really this is just like the inevitable conclusion of reading any of these books is that everyone you care about will die. So... Great.
Well, the thing is that it just kills me because A, we're never going to know. I mean, that's just a given. And B, it's like, you get to like a character and then you're like, and they're dead, you know. But it's some of these characters have to be able to make it out alive.
Like stupid Tris Botley's going to live. Like, I'm 100% sure that guy is going to live. Oh, Justin Massey's totally going to live.
Although it's so funny, I still remember Lot was writing some fanfic, a while back, and she had me reading it, and I actually didn't think that her Justin Massey portrayal was accurate to what we know about him. And I'm like, hang on, let me talk to one of the Justin Massey fans. And Lot was like, wait, there are Justin Massey fans? She's like, yeah,
Yeah, there's a Justin Massey fandom.
Which is just when you think about that.
Now I'm the one.
It's a
now
fandom
you guys,
for everything.
We're the first 4 members of the Hagen's daughter fandom.
Just pretty sure we're the only ones, but yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when people reread the chapter, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Hagen's daughter, yay!" We might create the fandom for her. Just saying. So, Kama, do we have any mail tonight?
We do not.
Oh, you bastards. No. Well, you can send us some mail at closethedoorend@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at doorpodcast on Twitter. You can find us on Tumblr at Close the Door and Come Here, and also on Facebook at Close the Door and Come Here. And you can listen to us on iTunes. Also, leave us a review on iTunes. We haven't got an iTunes review in a couple months. And the more better reviews we get, the more people that can find us. So we always appreciate your reviews. And let's see, you can find us on Podbeam, on Google Play, and Stitcher, and all of those fun places. And if you are one of our wonderful Patreons, you will receive special benefits like receiving episodes early. So please consider supporting us on Patreon. I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight, the royal us, for joining me in my French podcast. Yeah, if only I knew how to say close the door and come here in French, that would probably have been something nice. If I had all planned
I don't know the rest of it. Something ici, I don't know.
Yeah. If I had all planned what I was going to say. Yeah. If I had all planned what I was going to say ever on the podcast, I might have had that planned out, but I don't. So, get out.